Today I will give you a demonstration on how to build SQL queries in Microsoft Access. So what is a query? It's a way of questioning the data in the database. Remember, in previous workshop we record information in tables, and here we need to retrieve information from the table to answer a range of questions that you may have. So when creating a query, you can select some fields or only certain fields that fit in the criteria, like conditional, or you want to have a combination of both. Also, some query would need to have some calculation. So in this workshop, I will give you 8 questions that you could use Microsoft SQL to answer the question. So these are the first 3 questions. Say we want to know the list of all the customers that Hammer Wise has. Right. So to answer this question, first you need to identify what table you need to answer this question, where the information came from, and in each table, what fields that you need to be included in the query. So let's have a quick look here. So this is Microsoft Access, and under Create, you find out there's a query section, and let's say we'll do query designs. So for the first question, we want to list all of the customer in the database. So here the customer table will be selected because that gives us information about the customer, right? And of course you can choose a field to go into the query like this. If you want to deselect a field, click on the tops and then press delete. Alright, so you can select a field like, so for example, I would select customer ID, customer name, support, and state. Then I run the query. So here you are, that's the 8 customers that we have in different states. And so let's go back here. What table do we need and what field we want to have in the query? And then in the next query we want to say I want to find out customer but not in own state, just New South Wales. Yeah, so this is a conditional query. So let's go back here. I go right click and go to design view, and here this is the state. And if you look at the state, you would have a row called criteria. So this criteria, I can specify condition like New South Wales. So you put in New South Wales in the criteria, and then I click and run the query. So they only list the customer from New South Wales. Okay, so let me show you again. In the design view, in the criteria, then I put the state I want to list. And then another query we call list all the customer from a particular state on demand. Okay, we call dynamic query. So what is a dynamic query? It's a reusable query. So that means you want to reuse the condition every time the query is run. And to create a dynamic query, you would use a square bracket. Yeah, square bracket. Okay, in the field that you want to filter. And then when the query is run, the customer will be asked to input data. So let's go back here. Instead of we put New South Wales, we just put a square bracket and say enter the states you want to list. Square bracket. Yeah, so open square bracket and close square bracket. Now the text that you type in between the square bracket can be any descriptive meaningful text. Then alright, so let me run our state. Let's say New South Wales. Here you are, it will list you the state. If you want to run it again, we go to design view and say this time I want to list the customer in Victoria. So they will list all the customer in Victoria. Okay, Then we also learn more that in this query we need to get information for more than one table. So in the first example we only list from the customer, but this one we want to list customer and venues. So I want to know all of the venues belong to a customer. So let's go back to the design view, and in this case I will delete this condition. We need two tables, right? Because we need to have customer and their venue, so we need to have customer and venue. So here I got customer information. Now I will list the venue name, the venue address, and state. So this is customer came from customer table, this is venue came from venue table, right? So this will answer this question, list all the customer and their venue. So let's go back, I will run. So this is customer address, and this is venue and venue address. So these are all of the customer and venues that we have. Then we also do what we call calculation query. So in question 5, how many venues does each customer own? So unlike this query, it lists all of the detail of the venues, but here I want to know how many of each of the venue that each of this customer here has. Okay, so you can create a new query. So let's create a new query, and in this case we also need customer and we also need venue. Okay, so for the customer I would select customer ID, customer name, suburbs, and state. For the venue, right, I only list one field called venue ID. Now to make the calculation query, you need to use the total functions in query design. So here you see the total. When you click on total, you will see that now in the query it have a new field called total. Alright, total. And in the venue ID I would change the total to count. Right, so customer group by and venue the count. We count how many venue belong to this customer. Then we run. So you see that the list of the venues are here together with how many venue that it has. Let's go back to the design view. So I just answered these questions, that how many venue that each customer own. Now in the workshop we also learned, so this is how we do it. Yeah, we got the total size function, turn it into the query into calculation query, and we do the calculations. Also, sometimes the calculation can be a bit more complex, like in question number 6. What is the total cost of each beer tap? And the total cost formula is provided here. So you can see in this calculation it requires maintenance contract table and tap type table. For this kind of query, you can use what we call it the builder function. The builder will help you to complete the formula much faster and less error than using manual typing. And then we also question like what is the total cost of the beer taps for each customer. So I will do a quick one for question number 6, and number 7 you would have to do it on your own. So here's number 6. Let's analyze the question. So you got total cost, so we need the maintenance contract, MC cost, and tap type for installation cost and setup costs. So let's go back here and I will create a new query. In this query you would have the maintenance contracts, the tap type, and the tab table. Okay, because we want to calculate the total cost for each beer tab, right? Alright, so for the tab, I'll just take the tab number, supplier, and the total cost of, let's see, MC cost for maintenance contract MC cost, and in tab type would TT in cost and TT install. Tab type TT in cost and TT install. Now remember, these are individual costs, they're not adding up yet, so we need to add up together. So here in the design view, you see there's a builder. This is builder, and this builder allows you to add and select what field to enter in the calculation. So let's make sure I click onto this empty field and I go to build design. So from the database, from what table? Maintenance contract, I got MC costs, then plus the tab type, and I have TT in cost, and I got TT install. So 3 costs are here. Click OK. Alright, so you see the formula now have been inserted into this, and the express one is the default titles for that column, so I will make it something clearer. So total costs, make sure you don't change anything behind the columns. Yeah, okay, let me run. Here you are. This is the tabs, beer tab. This is individual cost, and this is total cost. It will be exactly the total of 3 individual costs. Alright, so that's another type query we learned. And finally, we want to run a query that creates based on date, between a range of date. So in the workshop I will explain this a bit further, but remember, this is something to do with dynamic query, because it allows the user to enter the date when they run the query. Okay, so I will cover more in the workshops. Alright, that's the end of demonstration for this week.